had any more success getting a hold of Heron than your PM this offseason?
Listen, I'm just going to throw it out there right away. First of all, I've got nothing but love and appreciation for what Aaron has done for so many in our organization. Obviously, have experienced a lot of great times together, won a lot of football games together. Ultimately, did bring home a Super Bowl, which will always be disappointing. But he's done so much for myself, my family, our coaches' families, so many people within the organization, other players. A lot of people have been rewarded, quite frankly, because of his ability to go out there and play at such a high level. So, I'm just going to kind of leave it at that.
When did you realize that he wasn't going to be your quarterback in 2023?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into any of that stuff. I know it's disappointing for all you guys, but it is what it is. And at the same time, we're excited about Jordan and what he's been able to, how he's been able to progress as a quarterback, how he's matured as a man. It's going to be a different role for him, certainly. And I think we all have to kind of temper our expectations for him. It's different when you're going into a game versus when you're starting a game. And it's going to be a process, but it's going to be, it's going to be exciting for him, for us. And, I don't think any quarterback can truly do it on their own in this league. So it's going to be everybody rallying around him and trying to play at their best of their ability so that he can go out there and perform as good as he possibly can.
Matt, what was his reaction and whatever communications that you had with Jordan just about, hey, it's time?
Yeah, I think he just wanted to know what was going on. For a long period of time, I couldn't even tell him because I didn't quite know where it was headed. And, I think there's obviously some clarity to it, but nothing's final yet. So,
Matt, OTAs.
I thought you were going to ask me about De Pere High School basketball.
If you want to share your speech.
That speech, yeah.
Matt,
I don't think it's appropriate, Rob.
OTAs open in April. Yeah. If Aaron's not traded by April, are the doors open to him in April to come to OTAs?
Listen, I'm not. That's all between Joe and Goody. I'm going to leave that one to them, and we'll coach whoever's on our roster, and we're going to coach them as the best of our ability, and always going to put the best players out there that are going to give us an opportunity to go win football games.
Has that been helpful with your relationship with Robert to keep it between Joe and Goody for you?
Yeah, he called me early on in this thing, and I was like, hey, man, I'm out of it. That's between them, and I think we both agreed, and he's certainly a guy that I've got a lot of love and respect for. We go back. I probably wouldn't be sitting in this seat, quite frankly, if it weren't for my relationship with Robert Saleh and just the opportunity to get into this league with the Houston Texans. He kind of pounded the table for me to Kyle and Coach Koob, and we've kept it just about life.
Matt, I know yesterday Brian was talking about kind of the level-headedness of Jordan. The last 3 years, what have you kind of learned from him, just as far as the man and kind of the guy he is to be kind of accelerated in this process?
Yeah, well, he's come a long way, quite frankly, because I know there were some times where early on it's just you're like, you don't know. And I still think you have to go out there and you got to do it consistently. And it's one thing to do it in practice. It's another thing to take it to the game field and do it. But certainly have seen just his performance in practice, his mechanics, his decisions, his timing within the pass game, and I think just his accuracy, which is what we always are grading the quarterback on. I think he's come a long way, and I think it's a credit to a lot of the coaches like Hackett and Getsy, and then certainly Tom Clements has had a huge impact on him, and that's one of the reasons why we brought Tom, is because he's got a history of developing quarterbacks, and I think that you've seen that. I would say we've seen that in practice over this last year that gives us some confidence in him.
How different is your offense going to look with Jordan? And what changes do you need to make to facilitate a smooth transition for him?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's going to be a work in progress, quite frankly, and I think, we're going to have to be very intentional about what we ask him to do, about what we ask our guys to do. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of new pieces. When you lose guys like Alan Lazard and Robert Tunyon, for certain, that's just, you got to find people to supplement those roles. And so I think, our whole offense, we'll have a little more clarity once we get through the draft and on who's going to be on our roster. And certainly I think we're a long way from the start of the season and who exactly is going to be out there, the 11 that are going to be out there. But it's going to be a fun process for all of us.
You sat here last year and said you needed a receiver to take the top off, and you went and got Christian. What more do you need in that room right now to surround Jordan?
Well, I think some veteran leadership would be nice. Although I think guys like Allen and Randall did such a great job last year, kind of taking those guys under their wing and showing them the ropes and the expectations and the practice habits that you need to have to go out there and play at a high level. And but there's going to be a lot of growth with those two guys, certainly. Romeo and Christian, and then you got Samori Toure, and we got a small glimpse at Bo Melton last year, and but I think we're going to have to add some bodies to that room. Certainly, I don't think that. What do we got? Like 5 guys on the roster right now.
I think Rob's going to be playing receiver.
Yeah, he might.
He's a little
Can
too
you
short.
still run? Can you still run, Rob?
He's got two bad ACLs.
I just want to know how your son became such a damn good basketball player. What happened to you? Huh? Not yet.
Coach, an off season is often about upgrade, getting better. I think you agree with that. How is what you said about Jordan give you potential for upgrade at that position?
Yeah, I'm not. I just think it's going to be a progression. I mean, certainly, I think we're fooling ourselves if we think he's going to go out there and perform at a level to the likes of what Aaron Rodgers. I mean, this guy is a once in a lifetime, a generational talent. So, and I don't think it necessarily started that way when he first started. But he progressed into that. So, it's like I said, it's going to be a progression, and hopefully we can surround him with enough people to help him perform at the best of his ability, and then we got to do a great job as a coaching staff.
Hey man, defenses are probably going to really come after him. How do you prepare him for that? Do you have to do extra?
What makes you say that?
He's a young quarterback.
Okay.
So, do you have to, is it just doing extra blitz periods, or how do you prepare him for that?
I think you got to throw as much at him as humanly possible. I think we're definitely scheduled to practice against somebody in the preseason. I'm not going to mess up and tell you who it is yet, but provided the NFL affords us that opportunity, that'll be a great learning experience for him. And then, we might have to take a little different approach in how we, address the preseason in those games. Certainly, Jordan doesn't have a lot of game reps, so you want to give him as much as possible. And I would say that our whole situation is going to be very fluid in terms of you got to kind of stay one step ahead of the game and what he needs in order for him to develop the way we want him to develop.
Take
I'm
nothing.
not trying to be sarcastic when I ask this, but do we think we'll see your influence on the offense more since you have a quarterback that probably won't have
I've
as
been
much
hearing that a
freedom
lot.
to change?
No, I don't. Yeah, I think every year is a different year, and you're constantly trying to evolve and change. If you do the same stuff that the defense sees year in and year out, they're going to catch up to you. So, I think there's a lot of room for growth within our offense, within our scheme, and this has been a great period of time this whole offseason to study a lot of other trends in the league, other teams that have had a lot of success, and probably steal a little bit from some other teams. And you always lean on the guys that that you're familiar with and you got a lot of trust in, and if they're not in the same conference or division, then you can talk some ball with them. But it's going to be a fun process, and we're kind of getting that going right now in terms of what it is that we're going to have, when our guys come back in a few weeks, what we're going to install.
What was Jordan's reaction when he realized that it's his turn now?
I think he's excited. I think he's excited about the opportunity. I think, going in there last year, particularly against Philly and having some success, gave him some confidence, and that's what you want. And we're going to have to try to do as much possible to have some early success and understand that there's going to be adversity along the way. There always is, no matter if you're a third-year player, fourth-year player, or an 18-year player. So the thing that I was optimistic about and that I really like to see is when he went in that game versus Philly, you could tell he had so much poise, and I thought that was just a big jump from when you saw him last versus Kansas City.
Matt, you have Aaron as a veteran guy, Tannehill, you had Matt Ryan, but you also had Goff and Robert Griffin, right? When they were,
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. What do you remember about what it was like at the beginnings of those guys and how you guys navigated?
Yeah, it's just like I said, there was highs and lows all along the way, and it's just that's why I think it's important for us to make sure that we're going to have young pieces around him. Quite frankly, I mean, when you look at the receiver room, the tight end room, the two positions you could argue where we have some veteran leadership is in the running back room and then on the offensive line. So I think we're going to have to be really, really intentional about what we give all these guys, because ultimately it's the whole collective that go out there and have to perform and go out there and execute at a high level.
And what did you think about Rich? His contribution last year and being able to give him that assistant head coach title.
Yeah, I think Rich has had such a big impact. Obviously, how we address the special teams. It's ingrained to say we fence, but so how we address that, just the resources we put towards that, but also I think it was a change of a mentality, and I think you could see that. It was pretty reflective, I think, in our play, and certainly Rich has had a big impact. Just watching how he coaches has had an impact on me, how he leads, the messages he gives to those guys. So I think there's a lot to learn from Rich Bisaccia, and we are so fortunate to have him. I think, I personally think he's one of those guys that should be here right now. I think he's one of the best leaders I've ever been around. I love just how he's able to coach guys really hard, and these guys will run through a brick wall for him because they know that he cares about the man, and he always talks about coaching the jersey number, and I think that's a great way to put it. It's a great way to kind of differentiate the player from the performer out there on the grass, and I just can't say enough great things about him. I just somebody, if given the opportunity, would I think they'd hit the lotto with this guy.
If I could follow up on Matt's question, this is to take nothing away from Aaron. He won 2 MVPs with you. The offense achieved great things. But is there a part of you that is looking forward to running more of your offense and putting because it's always a collaboration, putting your imprint on the offense?
It's always the way I always view it. It's our offense, and obviously you want to do whatever accentuates your players' abilities, whether it's the quarterback, receivers, whoever it may be, your offensive line. If they're going up against a stud pass rusher, you're going to try to help them. And but I do think there's a comfort factor with the quarterback. I've always said it. I believe it's the hardest position to play in all of sports. And so you want that guy to feel comfortable and confident in whatever play is going in there, so he can go out there and play to the best of his ability. Because if you get good quarterback play, you got a pretty good chance of winning games. And certainly Aaron's done it as good as anybody in this league.
your D coordinator position is so important. Why'd you stick with Joe Barry? What was behind that decision?
Yeah, I think there's something to continuity. I think when you look at it, there were times, and we had a really rough stretch in the middle of the season where I don't think any of us would agree that we performed up to our ability. But it was hard to, I never want to say it was, oh, we lost a game because of the offense or we lost the game because of the defense. And I think there were a lot of games that our defense gave us an opportunity to win the game. And I felt like towards the end of the season, we were getting better and better and better. And I think anytime you hold Detroit to whatever we did in the last week of the season and at their place, I mean, that was one of the better offenses in the league. And, certainly losing a guy like Rashawn Gary was, that's a pretty big hole and a pretty big void that you got to fill. And I thought our defense kind of was getting better, was progressing. I thought Joe was doing a good job of communicating with our players. I thought our staff was doing a great job together, just putting our guys in a better situation, having just more clarity on what it is we wanted to be and our play style. And I thought it got better. So I felt like that was in the best interest of us to bring all those guys back.
Did you think it took too long to discover those things? It seemed like it was fairly required of the season for some of those adjustments.
Yeah, I would say, but I think that you could say that collectively within every phase. We made our mistakes on offense, on defense, on teams at times. So, certainly not having Keyshawn out there, I mean, that might have made a bigger impact early in the season. It would have made a bigger impact earlier in the season. So, and ultimately that falls on me.
Matt, what are you going to need in a backup quarterback this time around? It's different having a backup for Aaron.
Yeah, that's a great question, Rob, in terms of, I think you can go a couple different ways with it, to be honest. You can try to get a veteran in here that's done it and can help, because I think it's always important, obviously, just the relationships within that room, but I think it's important for a quarterback to have another quarterback and player to lean on in some of those times, especially when you're going through a little adversity. So I think you can go that route. If you fall in love with somebody in the draft, you can draft a young guy. There's a lot of different ways to do it. I've been a part of a lot of different quarterback rooms, so I just think you got to try to figure out and get the best guy available. So I know I didn't really answer your question, but
with the defense trending the right way late last season, you could say the same thing about the defense late in 2021, where the San Francisco playoff game.
Sure.
And then it didn't translate early last season. Why will this time be different?
I think that we're super intentional. Like, we've had such good meetings throughout the course of this offseason. I've been probably more involved, which I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing, but with that side of the ball, just asking the questions and trying to get everybody on the same page, because I don't think it's necessarily, you can look at every defense and offense for that matter in this league, and you can poke holes through any scheme. But I think it is more the play style of how you go out there and play. And I don't think you have to be overly complex. And certainly there's going to be some tweaks and adjustments that we're going to make to try to help our scheme and make it a little bit better. And ultimately, we just got to make sure that we continue to I thought Joe did a really good job of probably scaling back a little bit as the season progressed. And I thought you saw the effects of that. And I thought our guys went out there and were able to go out there and play a little faster and execute at a higher level.
How much more do you think you can do with Quay Walker this year?
I think Quay he's an exceptional athlete. I think just his obviously his size, his speed, his strength. He's a versatile player. So whether it's lining him up on the edge, which we did a little bit last year, I think he can cover in man coverage situations. He's just got that ability. So I think there's a lot of room for growth for him, quite frankly, and more responsibility. And a lot of that's just going to come with, him knowing just all the little details to every call and how you're playing each play. And I think it's going to be it's going to be a big off season in terms of how we go throughout OTAs and the practice time. That we're probably going to be on the field a little bit longer than we have been in years past. I know, like, our schedule, we're going to be in the building a little bit longer. We're going to use the entire 4 hours. I would say in years past we've been 3.5 to 3:45. So I just think there's a lot of things that we can do to help all our players, quite frankly.
How big of an opportunity is that for Wyatt too? You know, with kind of the openings you have in that D line.
Yeah, there's certainly losing Jay Reed and Dino. Those were two players that contributed a lot. I thought Jay Reed had a hell of a year last year. When you go back through the tape and really watch it, happy for him to get rewarded for that. Certainly Dean has had, in our time together, he's done a lot of great things for us. And sad to see both of those guys go. Excited for them, though, to have another opportunity. And but yeah, it naturally kind of opens up more playing time for TJ and for Heavy D, as I like to call him. So, but he's going to have to make that progression. Again, most players make their biggest jump from year 1 to year 2. So that's the expectation for him, and I know he's working hard right now, and we're going to have to get a lot out of him next year.
What do you like about Greg Williams to bring him in to replace Jerry?
Yeah, Greg has been outstanding. I think overall person. You always hear me talk about hiring the man first, the coach second. I think he is an unbelievable person. He had familiarity with Joe with the Chargers, and Rich was there, and Byron Storer they were all in that staff together with the Chargers. I had never met Greg prior to the interview process, but I thought he had a great teaching progression, a great teaching plan, and just knocked the interview out. And I think just overall communication with everybody. I think we got to be super detailed in the back end. Certainly losing a great coach like OG is never easy, but I was happy to see him get that opportunity in Atlanta to be the assistant head coach, and so excited for Jerry and appreciative of all that he's contributed to our success.
With Christian and Romeo having that first season under their belt, how much changes for a young receiver in year 2? And what do you do in the offseason that facilitate that big jump for those guys, that position especially?
Yeah, I think, it was definitely an experience. There were some highs and lows with both of those guys, quite frankly, throughout the course of the season. I think, once we hit that Dallas game after those 2 drops, Christian really took off, and it was awesome to see. Obviously, you can see the explosive playmaker that he is and what he's capable of doing. And but there's a lot. I'm just excited to watch him grow as just his understanding in the offense. He is a guy that can handle a lot. I haven't been around too many rookies where you could move them their position in game and he wouldn't even flinch. So he is exceptionally just intelligent, bright, knows the plan inside and out. But I think there's a level of detail that is going to get better with him. And we're going to be, quite frankly, we're going to ask him to run probably more routes than we did a year ago. And then I thought Rome started off great, and then he got injured. And I don't know if he ever quite got back to what we had seen early in the year. But I expect to see that when he comes back. I think Rome is this guy. I think I mentioned it when he first got here. Just his routine, how committed he is. I mean, he's one of the first guys in the building, one of the last to leave, and I think he's got a unique skill set. He's got. I want to temper this comparison here, but he's got some Devonta Adams type movement skills. Now he's got to learn when to use it and how to harness that. And but he's got that twitch that you're looking for. So I don't think there's a route that he won't be able to run. We're just going to have to give him enough reps that where he can continue his progression. I think one play that stuck out in my mind is I don't know if you guys remember that throwback that he caught versus the Dolphins. I mean, that was just an exceptional route. He's just so sudden and explosive in and out of his break. A great hands catcher, and yeah, I'm excited about both of those guys. Just a 1-2 combo, and hopefully we're going to have to add to that room, and some of these other guys are going to have to step up.
Hey, Matt, is Douglas going to move to safety, and what do you think Savage's best position is?
Yeah, I think I don't think we're going to. I think Rasul's capable of doing that. That's not where we're going to start him out at safety, and I think when you look at it, I think his best position is outside at corner. We tried the nickel thing last year. He's definitely a better player on the perimeter. I thought when he's kind of settled in there, like halfway through the year, our performance got better, and he's a guy that we've all seen he can take the ball away, and that's such a valuable tool. He definitely has the intelligence and ability to play whatever, but I do think for us, he's best when he's on the outside and mixing up, playing bump and playing with vision. I think he does a great job of being able to read quick game and read the quarterback, and allows him to break on balls. He knows what receivers are going to run based on their splits, their route stems, which allows him to jump some routes. And then I think Savage is best. I think he's another guy that you got some flexibility there. I think how we'll start off, though, is he will be playing the safety position, and we're going to give Keyshawn every opportunity to lock down that nickel position, and that's what we expect.
Does Alexander move inside more than he did last year?
I think that's game by game. I think you saw it, when he was shadowing a receiver, which we hadn't done a bunch in the past, and but that proved effective. I think, no doubt about it, when you look at the Viking game and what he was able to do versus, in my opinion, arguably the top receiver in the game in Justin Jefferson. So, yeah, it gives us a lot of flexibility within that unit to move guys around. Certainly, trying to get Stokes back as soon as possible, and it's going to be a competitive situation, and it might be a situation where you see 3 different guys in there at various times, and they're going to have to earn their snaps. But I do think that'll competition, big believer, that brings out the best in everybody. So I'm excited to see how that room progresses, especially with, there's some new voices in there, certainly given obviously Greg, and then giving RD some more responsibility, and as well as Justin Hood. So really excited about just all 3 of those guys being able to work together, working with Joe and trying to figure out what's best for us.
Joe talked about that last year, using different guys in there, but it ended up being mostly just Douglas until the injuries hit. I mean, can you really do it where you're moving different guys? And if you like Douglas on the outside, then I would assume that means he's going to play there a lot more than he did last season.
Yeah, I just think there's so many nuances and intricacies to the nickel position. It's best if you have one guy in that position to be able to key and react. I think some of there's some really good nickels in this league, like Johnson with the Bills, like his ability to trigger and read things and diagnose. I think you need those reps. So I think it's best if you can put one guy in there. Certainly when you have some versatility within that room, though, it gives you different options, because unfortunately injuries are a part of this game, and so God forbid something happened, but you can move. You just have a few more ways to attack it if somebody does go down, whether it's Savage or Sewell that has had time in there.
Couple more guys, 2 more. Giving back to the community, your family does a great job of that. What charities and causes are you most passionate about? Nice and loud, please.
Well, I'm trying to think of all the ones that I've helped. No, we've worked with Willow Tree in the past. That's something that I think that, I guess my passion and loyalty is probably with kids that maybe are not afforded the same opportunities as others, and trying to give them a fighting chance, give them hope. So we try to work with a lot of charities with children, and just trying to help better their situation. I've done some stuff with Bellin, and that's something that I probably got to do a little bit more. You were very kind in how much you said I did within the community.
Last one, guys. Just on Keyshawn, when you look at his overall impact, especially on the offensive side of the ball, what kind of shot in the arm does that give to an offense when you have a kickoff returner that can kind of position the ball the way that he did for the second half?
Yeah, it's awesome. I think, especially when he takes it all the way to the house and you don't have to go out there and screw it up on offense. It just, the field position game is absolutely critical in our league, and Key he's a dynamic player. I was joking with him. I said, hey, you never know. There might be some opportunities offensively, and I know he was fired up to hear that. But for us, it truly is. If he can handle it, I got no problem putting him in there in some situations on offense. But we got to make sure that we take care of that nickel spot first and foremost, and continuing to progress as a returner, because he hasn't done it very long. But when he did it, he was super successful. I think he kind of he's got to make sure he stays disciplined too now, because I think you saw it in that Detroit game. There were times when he went off the reservation and kind of went rogue and wasn't following the scheme, and we can't have that. And that's really for everybody. We've got to have that disciplined approach from everyone if we want to be at our best.